Good afternoon on what is another cool, bright and sunny day. It is Tuesday, September the 20th. I've got a nice cup of tea. And a box to continue opening. And what I've got inside here is this, which is the classic Pocket Box Games bundle from Steve Jackson Games, which has got all these games in it, including Undead, Necromancer, Raid on Iran, One Page Bulge, Kung Fu 2100, Awful Green Things, and sort of some pocket folders and so on, a bit extra things. Now, what we've got inside this box, so I'm doing an unboxing of an unboxing, and then more because I'm actually unboxing a box. As you can see, all those are these style games that come in these really sturdy little boxes. Now these are all reprints of mini games that were published by Steve Jackson Games back in the early 80s. And back at the time when there was quite a little trend in publishing mini board games. So Metagaming had done a series of games before Steve Jackson Games, things like Rivets and Black Hole. Steve Jackson did a whole load of these, and obviously the ones that Steve Jackson Games did are probably more fondly remembered, because ultimately the things out of that would come Car Wars, Sunday Drivers, Truck Stop, and then Illuminati, and so on, and also Ogre. Most of those would appear in the little clamshell boxes as well. But for these reprints, Steve Jackson Games has gone back into the other ones that have been out of print for a very long time and presented them in these sturdy little boxes. So the last one I'm going to look at, the last one in this box set, is Awful Green Things from Outer Space, or The Awful Green Things Outer Space. This reproduction was created using the best copy of the original that we could find. Every component was painstakingly scanned, touched up and reproduced in a form as near identical to the original game as we could manage. Includes retro style rules, maps and counter sheets, as well as a second set of die counters. And of course Steve Jackson Games, obviously Metagames did their own, TSR did their own. They had like a set of four mini games, and they're all quite a little bit collectible, a little bit difficult to find because they were quite cheaply produced at the time, and obviously didn't stand up to a lot of long-term play. But with these sturdy boxes, I think that will change. These will probably survive a bit longer. So I'm going to need that knife in a minute, because I know what the boxes are like. So that sheet comes separate, and then you've actually got the content of the box blurb on the back, which says, "Monsters everywhere. The crew of the exploration ship Zdutnar just wanted to cruise around the galaxy, discovering strange new worlds and playing pool. But then their ship was invaded by the awful green things, and suddenly they were fighting for their lives. In this wacky two-player game, one player takes the part of the awful green things. Every turn the monsters multiply and grow, especially if they can eat somebody. The other player commands the crew, frantically trying weapon after weapon in hopes of defeating the awful green things from outer space. This new pocket box edition includes 137 colour counters, a Ziploc bag to hold them, a 24-page illustrated rulebook, a 12 by 21 inch colour map. Game design by Tom Wham, cover by J. David George." There we go. So inside, I'm going to be careful of this because these boxes have been a little bit difficult to actually open, quite tight. So it's just a case of just breaking the seal, getting them. No, I can't. That one's a lot easier than I expected. So inside we have two 6-sided dice, complete with the Eye of the Pyramid logo, which everyone will recognise from Steve Jackson Games. Ziploc bag to hold the counters. The rule book. Come back to that in a second. The map. And then you have you've got you've got the original counters, and there we go. And originally you would have to cut these all out with your scissors, and they'd all look a bit shonky, you know, just a bit rubbish because you weren't quite as good at cutting them out as you wanted them to be. Then you've got die cut counters. So these are all the crew, and here's all the gear you can find. Some more gear, and then you've got all the little awful green things who are, you know, multiplying and growing from turn to turn. And all this is played out on this map of the ship. I should open this up. So this is the production values on this one are a lot higher, in part because essentially it calls for this full colour map of the starship Zootnar, with various locations, and that's upside down. So I'll just, there we go. That's better. There's various locations such as the captain's cabin bridge and first sensor, aft machine shop, cockpit bay, scout bay, saucer bay, and so on. Damage control, fuel pod, etc. And these all sort of like you've got weapon and gear locations and so on that you would sort of like try and hunt down in order to find something which works. So this is copyright 1980. It's been republished since in various boxes of various sizes. So we've got in prologue here, somewhere in a faraway in space, an advanced civilization built its first spaceship, or first starship. Its crew was selected from 5 planets, and the exploration ship Zootnar set out for the unknown. They travelled for years, mapping and charting new worlds, eating zvorts and playing pool. Eventually they found a world with some intelligent inhabitants and took one along for a mascot. What they didn't know was that a mineral specimen from that same planet was actually an egg. On board, out of sight, the egg hatched into an awful green thing. The monster grew and laid eggs. The new monsters grew and skulked throughout the ship. Then the crew discovered the creatures. One player assumes the role of the awful green things, happily growing and eating crewmen. The other one player represents the ship's crew, fighting for their lives against the alien menace. So you essentially, here you've got an explanation of the counters. So nice and simple. Movement allowance, constitution, attack dice, and they've all got this. Crew starting locations, you know, so Captain Yid, First Officer, Comm Officer, Operations Officer. I'm not entirely sure about calling a character Yid, Y-I-D. That's potentially annoying. And then you've got the initial monster population, so they go from eggs to babies to adults. And the sequence of play is the monster grows, moves, attacks, wakes up. Crew, general, grab weapons, move, attack, wake up. And these are all neatly explained in what follows. Over several pages, and then we come to the various weapons and what they do. And as basically, one of the great things about this is the weapon effect chits. Since the awful green things come from outer space, the crew of Zootnar does not know exactly what its weapons will do to them. When a weapon is used for the first time against the monster, a weapon effect chit is immediately drawn for that weapon and placed next to the illustration on the weapon's display. This shows the effect of the weapon for the rest of the game. So it might be you are rolling 5, 4, or 3 dice to kill an alien. Might be 5 dice to stun, no effect. Grow, which means you basically the monster advances 1 stage. Shrink. They shrink down to 1 level, or 1 die fragments and so on. So the effects of the weapons are variable. So really you've got a random setup for the monsters, a random number of monsters, and a random effect of the weapons. So there's quite a lot of variation so that you don't quite know what's going to happen. How to win. Winning a game may be done by 1 or 2 methods. In the first, the game lasts until one side decides that it's hopeless and gives up. Other uses victory points, which are as follows. Essentially, the awful green things take over the Zootnar, or the crew escapes the ship's boats and scores points for constitution points. It's possible the crew destroys all the green things. And you can have crew escape, Zootnar self-destruct, and so on. and you have an epilogue. So essentially, if they escape, if the crew escape and the escape life pods or the ship has to go back, then you know, you've got a mini game afterwards, including an even smaller game, Crew Survival, a very short game, and on the back you've got the designer's notes as well. So that's a nice little complete package for this version of Awful Green Things from Outer Space, a version of the game which essentially is a facsimile or a version of the original, and really comes in this lovely green box, which I think is a nice touch. Essentially, all the other ones black boxes, this one green box. Thematically, you know, just a different colour, but it works for the game. And again, box is really sturdy. So yeah, that's the last of the games in the classic pocket box game bundle from Steve Jackson Games. So I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below, and of course if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box, in this case containing several other boxes, from which I will extract another box and do an unboxing of a game, in this case, or it might have been a book, and chat about it to the best extent of my knowledge, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do hit that subscribe button down below. Once again, thanks for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.